Hi, my name is Newell Davis with Wormiculture, and we're here to go over the coffee bin that I have set up for vermicomposting. And it's been a few months or a little bit longer than that now since I first set it up. I've been adding no worms to it, but I've been adding coffee grounds and a little bit of cardboard, and maybe some water if it started to dry out a bit. But that's it. I haven't added any real vegetable or fruit matter. So we're going to take a look and see how this is doing. The last time I did this, I found that it just did not work very well. And the last time I checked, it didn't appear this was either. So I've heard a lot of times it can do bins just with coffee grounds. I'm very, I don't believe it. I'm beginning to think more and more that that's just not something you can do. Maybe you need a larger bin, maybe you need something else, but I have not been successful in doing this with the 2 times I've tried. So let's go to the bin and take a look. So here we go. Move this a little closer. So here we go. Here's the bin. And it's a little dry in here. I mean, there's just a very little moisture on the top. And the top looks pretty dry. So let's just take a look here and see what it's like inside. I haven't added any coffee grounds in a while, but you know, I wanted to let the worms work through what was in here. So I am seeing some worms. Like here's one right here, a couple here on the side. So maybe it's working this time. As I've said, in the past I've tried this and it has not been successful. Oh, a lot of worms over here in this corner. So let's just see here. I'm not seeing many in the middle where it's a little drier, but on the sides here where it's a little bit moist, I'm seeing quite a few worms. Like right here. Let's see if I can just get these out. Now, I'm still not seeing a whole lot of worms. I would expect a lot more worms. Like I've heard that this is a great way to do a bin and all this information about it. And I mean, they seem very, it seems like there's a few worms in here, but not a whole lot. Usually, so I am seeing worms in here. I mean, it's not like they all died, which is good, because I was worried about that a little bit. Let's just see here. But I'm not seeing a whole lot. Like you see with the other bins, you hit some piece of fruit that was previously there, and it's like, oh my gosh, look at all these worms. You don't see that. So it's very different. It's definitely dry on top here. It's a little drier than it should be probably. And the middle's more dry than the sides. That's a big chunk there that's really dried out. Actually, what's interesting is I'm seeing in this little chunk here, right here, let's just see if we can zoom in on that a little bit. A little bit more. I don't know if you're going to see it or not. Oh. Yeah, it's about as far as we can zoom in. There's some little white lines in here that are moving, and I bet they are baby worms. Yeah, they're really hard to see. You really have to be looking really close. I don't know if you can see that from the camera, but there's some little baby worms in there that are really, really small. So I don't know. To me, that means that this bin is probably not at its optimal usability for worms. You know, it's just not set up great for them. I mean, I saw worms over there. Okay, there's more worms in this corner right over here. So there's more worms down in here. Again, they're all near the corners, which seem to be the most moist part of the bin. So I'm wondering if this is a water shortage. Oh, a lot of worms over here, but still not. Let's just see all the worms in here. But yeah, I mean, it just seems like that this is not an optimal bin by any means. I mean, there's nothing in here that seems to be. I'm not seeing like large quantities. I mean, there's worms, but it's not like it's. I don't know. This doesn't seem to be an optimal way to run a bin to me. You know, I don't know. Maybe if I kept it a little bit more moist, maybe if I added more paper, maybe if I did other things. But it seems like this is a lot of work. Like this right here is moist, but it's starting to dry out, and you know, I just so far I'm not as impressed with it as I thought it would, as I was hoping I would be. I don't know what this is. This looks like a piece of plastic. We'll take that out. So overall, I'm surprised that there are still multiple like sections with worms in it. Let's just turn this around here. So there's more worms again over here by the sides. It definitely looks like they are congregating where there's more moisture, which tends to be on the sides. There's a good amount of worms down in there. But again, nothing spectacular, nothing like, wow, this is really working out well. Like I expected this bin to just have worms all through it, and that's just not the case. It just seems like they're only in particular areas where they feel like being, or where there just happens to be moisture. It's not an optimal situation. Now, I think I'm going to add a little bit of water to this bin because it is very dry on the top here, which maybe is part of the issue. I don't know. I'm almost out of water in here. Whereas before, I did have an issue with it being, I think, too moist. Now I have the opposite issue, which is what happens a lot of times I find with coffee grounds. They seem to be either overly wet or overly dry, and there is no in between. There's no perfect. I'm going to have to dump a little bit of this here. Now this is all filtered water. I just have a filter that's attached to my fridge. It all goes through there. It's just to remove some of anything that's in the water that might be bad. And then what we're also going to do here is we're going to add some more coffee grounds. So, just to kind of keep it moving here. We'll see. We'll come back again in a few weeks probably and take another look. But so far, I'm not overly impressed with the amount of worms in here. I'd added a whole lot of worms when I started this bin, and it seems like there's actually the same amount or less than when I started. So that's how I feel about this bin. Like, it's really not turning out the way I hoped. I was hoping that there'd be worms just all through it, and when you dug through, you just find, not pockets, huge pockets, but every time you dug, you just find, worms in every single scoop, and that's not happening. It's not the way I was hoping it would be. And if anybody knows anything else as far as what I could do differently, I'd be more open to try different things. As I said, I'm trying not to add any food, only water, the filters, the coffee, and the cardboard, and that's it. I'm trying to add nothing else to this bin. So that's just the way it's working. So that's my update for my coffee bin. I think it's 4 months now that I've had this going. I forgot to write the date. I wanted to write the date on the top originally when I started it, but I forgot to do that, and it passed. So thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this update.